Welcome back to our YouTube channel. In today's video, we'll find out the top 10 best shot blockers in NBA history. Number 10, Marcus Camby from 1996 to 1997. Until the 2012 to 2013 games, Camby was a protector of the ruling rim. He led the league in blocks per game over 4 different seasons, including 3 in a row with the Denver Nuggets in the mid-2000s. During his career, he was only behind Tim Duncan, who played nearly 13,000 more minutes, rather than an all-star capable of leading the team, who's just a killer RPG player who allowed teams to play at blazing speeds without missing a beat on defense. This is exactly what he did for a high school Octane Nugget team that used the altitude to their advantage, even when the run and shoot style he played. Denver had the 8th best defense in the league during the years. Camby was there during his 17-year career. Camby's squad marked more than 0.4 points for every 100 possessions with him on the field and less than 1.8 without him. Its ability to protect his tire and crush oncoming drivers was a crucial part of the overall impact. Number 9, Tree Rollings. For the first 10 years of his career, Tree Rollings averaged 4.1 blocks for 75 possessions, a score that only behind Mark Eaton 5.3 and George Johnson 4.3. In that interval, in 1982 to 1983, Rollins averaged 4.3 blocks, at the top of the table in just 30.9 minutes. But unfortunately, he may be remembered for an incident that postseason. Later in the dunk, in Game 3 of the first round series between Atlanta Hawks and Boston Celtics, Rollins hit Danny Ainge in the face in the corner, then bit his finger. So Danny came to him later, and all hell broke loose. Rollins' ability to protect the rim had a far greater impact than the skirmish he was involved in the Ainge. But later follows him to this day, he was one much more than the boy who fought against Ainge. For more than a decade, he has been one of the best rim protectors in the game. Number 8, Theo Ratliff. Like Camby, Theo Ratliff's ability to protect the rim made his overall impact on the game a distinct advantage. From 1997 to 1998 to 2003 to 2004, he averaged 3.3 blocks in 31.7 minutes per game. He led the leagues in blocks per game for 3 of the 7 seasons. In that same span, Ratliff's team had plus 1.1 points for every 100 possessions. When he was down, minus 1.6 shots when he was out, and when he was in the game, he won opportunities to turn down the shots. Theo was the most elegant and artistic shooter. The Art was ever awarded Defender of the Year. Ratliff only got 2 nods of all defense within the second team, but his teammates clearly understood the worth of his wall shot provided. Number 7, David Robinson. David Robinson is one of the 4 most underrated players in NBA history. Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Chris Paul, Magic Johnson are the only ones to face him in the all-time over rankings. During his first seasons, he scored a powerful average of 25.6 shots, 11.8 rebounds, 3.1 assists, 1.7 steals. Perhaps most impressive, however, was a 3.6 blocks per game. He averaged over that stretch. When a player does so many things, it's easy for a skill, especially a defensive one, to get lost in confusion. Most of these players featured here haven't scored, passed, or even bounced as much as the Admiral. The fact that he was able to withstand the load he did in the offensive phase and protected the tire at an all-time level is a testament to his versatility. In 1991 to 1992, Robinson was designated Defender of the Year, his 23.2 points per game, and the 4th highest DPOY. He also built 8 all-defense teams during his career. Number 6, Shawn Bradley. It's a shame that most modern fans know Shawn Bradley from YouTube videos he dives into. The small champion size doesn't do his career justice. During his 6th season, he averaged 11 points, 7.9 rebounds, and 3.4 blocks in the span of just 29 minutes per game. In his career, he is the first of all time in the block rates. His career net records of 6.3 is better than that of Kawhi Leonard 5.1 and James Harden 4.9, among other stars. A defense anchor occupying both vertical and horizontal space was exceptionally valuable in the 1990s and 2000s. Over the past 5 seasons, the Dallas Mavericks have scored more than 12 points for over 100 possessions. When Bradley shared the track with Dirk Nowitzki, he had over 7.3 points per 100 possessions. When Dirk was on the sector without the guard of 7'6" rim, the big reason for that swing was a defense that allowed fewer than 100 points per 100 possessions when both wings were in. Number 5. Hakeem Olajuwon. As in the case of the Admiral, Hakeem Olajuwon carried a greater offensive load than most of the others on this list in the season in which he played Defender of the Year award. He also averaged 26.1 and 27.3 points respectively. But the burden Hakeem brought as a scorer who was a 35th of all time in career usage rate took nothing away from the ability to guard the paint. Olajuwon led the league in blocks per game 3 times. He has 4 of the top 20 records for one season blocks per game. He is the all-time leader by an overwhelming margin. He's a total of 3 blocks between the regular seasons and playoff. Olajuwon blocked at least 3 shots at a whopping 757 grams. Tim Duncan is second on the list with 621, and Blake Griffin has appeared during a total of 675 regular postseason games. Olajuwon's combination longevity and absurd peak makes him one of the top 5 stoppers ever. And this is to the fact that he was a bona fide number 1 pick. And it's not hard to see why. He's a regular in conversations about the game's best centers. 4. Alonzo Mourning. Before the onset of the health problems that ultimately led to a kidney transplant, Alonzo Mourning was among the most dominant centers in the game during the glory years for that role. From 1992 to 1993 to 1999 to 2000, he averaged 21.1 points, 10.1 rebounds, and 3.1 blocks per game. During that time, Dike Mutombo and Bradley were the only players to average more blocks per game. After missing the entire 2002 to 2003 season, Mourning returned to a much smaller role, but remained a central defense mid player. During his last 5 seasons, he still blocked 2.2 shots in just 19.4 minutes per game. And he had a solid player for the 2005 to 2006 Miami Heat champion. Number 3. Dikembe Mutombo. Almost all NBA fans of a certain age are familiar with Dikembe Mutombo iconic flick. For nearly 2 decades, it was called a calling card after a block, and he has many opportunities to do so. Mutombo is just behind Olajuwon in the running backs. He has 2 seasons with more than 4 blocks a game, 8 seasons with at least 3 blocks, and 11 seasons for more than 2 blocks per game. Like Hakeem, longevity was a key for Mutombo in climbing so high on the list. But the 7th of all time in career blocks per game and 5th in block percentage shows that he's also had a peak for a decade and a half. The 4 defenders of the years dominated the inferior and eventually became a role model for stars transitioning to playing status. Number 2. Manute Bol. The number of choices to block Manute's Bol shot is incredible. There are 7 seasons in NBA history with a maximum of 500 minutes and a block rate of 10 or more. 5 of those seasons, including each of those first 4, belong to Bol. He has more blocks than basket attempts in each of the first 7 seasons, a stretch during which he averaged 3.6 blocks and 2.7 points in only 9.5 minutes per game. In that stretch, he averaged 6.6 blocks, a league leader for 75 possessions. Robinson's 4.0 was a distant second in those years. No one in the history of the league has been in a place like Bol, though he never took the Washington Bullets to a title as head coach of the Boston Celtics KC. And finally, at number 1, we have Mark Eaton. Mark Eaton barely played for his high school 5'7'4". Mark Eaton, 2-time Defender of the Year, has described himself as a substitute player. He didn't go to basketball until after a stint as an auto mechanic near Cypress College in that store. Cypress assistant coach Tom Lubin finally convinced Eaton to give basketball another chance during its first 7 seasons. Eaton averaged 4.2 blocks a game. His personal best of 5.6 blocks in 1984 to 1985 remains an NBA record for just 1 season. During that time, he won 2 DPOYs, formed 5 all-defense teams, led the league in blocks 4 times, and created an all-star team in 1984 to 1985 and 1988 to 1989. He he also scored some points in the MVP vote and garnered those accolades primarily on the backs of his star shield and general approach to defense. That's it for today's video. Stay healthy, stay safe, stay happy, and I do hope to see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.